Hey guys, I'm Caitlin and I am pretty excited to show you what we're going to be doing today. We are going to be making these cute candy bags. So I'm sure some of you are already ready for Halloween, but we definitely need to start marketing for Halloween if you are getting ready to sell at craft shows. Some of you may already have been doing that. So we definitely want to make sure that if you are wanting to sell these Halloween products, that we get the ball rolling. And we today are going to go over not only how to make this bag, but give you some tips for helpful hints for your craft show, how to sell, and kind of how to market this towards your customers. So when we chose this design here, we actually gave you, I think, a link to the Facebook right now. So you have access to those files as well. We created a few, and we actually created those in our store here. So we have commercial rights. You have the files now, so you can now take those and you can sell them yourself. Not to butcher this anymore, but make sure if you are designing and you have an idea for your next candy bag, just make sure that, again, you do have those commercial rights so you have access to sell those. So we started with our design here. We are in Silhouette Studio. And then next, off of preference, what your customer wants, especially what your child wants. This right here, it kind of looks like it's just going to be our standard HTV, but it is our glow in the dark. So it's kind of hard to tell because we are in the daylight right now, but this is our glow in the dark sheet here, and we will also be posting a picture to our Facebook that kind of shows you the before, which would be this white sheet, and then the after, which will glow in the dark. So we'll go over a little bit more of the details for this here, but this is the material that we used. So sizing, we created a border along here, and again, because this is glow in the dark, we wanted to make sure that we had enough of it on the bag so it would really take that effect, you know, when the kids are walking around for Halloween, kind of showing off their new snazzy bag, making sure they get their candy in the appropriate place. So we have, it looks like a 2-inch border. So we do have a ruler handy here, but I think you've seen in a previous video, we have our mat too that you could use. So our full design here is about 10.5 inches, and along the border, we have a perimeter of about 2 inches. So I think this is a great size to start out with. Again, it has a lot of this glow in the dark to give that effect, and you can even see it in the daylight to see that white show up against that black. So in Silhouette Studio, this is the design that I have chosen. I like it because it has a large bat there, but then also some small details of the spider web. So in Silhouette Studio, I think ours mark twice and cut once. So about 10.5. So that is good to go. Just make it a little bit bigger. I know we've given you the design here, and again, we've given you the free cut files, but another way to kind of market this for your craft shows is to add value. So we have already added value with the glow in the dark. It's an added feature, just the same way that glitter would be, but it also could give a little snazz touch if you added either your child's name, or if you were at a craft show and you, let's say, made the design in bulk, but then when a customer came up to you, you could quickly get in Silhouette Studio and write their name out to add a little bit of detail. And if you still wanted this design to be fairly large on the front, you could absolutely just put the name on the back. This way, hopefully this trend will stay. It'll be the new cool candy bag, so you'll want to make sure that your child's name's on it so they don't lose it. And then it will probably refrain from any fights when you get home. So that could be an added detail again for craft shows or if you are selling to your customers online. And the other supplies, so this bag we purchased from Sanmar. So that is a wholesale account that we have with them. So we do have a tax ID. If you are selling, then I would highly recommend you try to get a tax ID there so you can get all the discounts. There's so many benefits to having a tax ID. So this bag from Sanmar was about $2. So a great purchase that you can buy in bulk. And like I said, have at craft shows readily available for your blanks there. The glow in the dark here is $7.99 a sheet, but as you can see, it's a really large sheet. So it's gonna be 20 inches. So most designs, I mean, ours you could fit 2 on each sheet, but depending on what you were going to do, you could just do maybe a few small bats at the bottom and just add a little bit of value there. So you're not using too much of that sheet there. But definitely in terms of pricing to sell, you'll want to make sure that you get your cost down pat first. So in terms of the vinyl and the bag, you're around $6 for cost, and then you'll want to multiply that by 3, so your starting price is going to be $18. But again, that's just a ballpark. You'll want to do your research. If that seems to be high, go on Etsy, look at your competitors, go to Target, any excuse for Target, right? And go check out the prices that they have for their candy bags. But again, you have to take into consideration that we have added value here. Again, if you added the name. And then also, if, I lost my train of thought. But anyway, definitely make sure you go check out your competitors so you can price accordingly and start on that higher end. You could always lower it, but do your research. Again, you're going to be adding value several different ways, so make sure you take care of your time there too. All right, so back to Silhouette Studio. We the standard, just with that added effect. So cut settings and heat settings are going to be pretty much identical. So first, when you're working with HTV and you already have your software, I'm not sure if you guys have seen yet, but when you go to print out or send it to your cutter, it will have a message pop up that says, are you sure you want to send it like this? Do you want to mirror it or leave as is? Not sure why this hasn't been there so long ago, because I feel like right now we are saving lots of vinyl. So a great tool to use. I get nervous, so I always flip it prior to that message, but it's always a great reminder to kind of tell you to slow down. Hey, it's time. We need to flip this before we send it through, especially when using this glow in the dark that is a little bit more, it costs a little bit more than our standard series there. So we have, again, the design flipped in Silhouette Studio. our website. So under each product page, so for glow in the dark, standard, our neon, our patterns, metallic and glow in the dark, like I said, are going to be all on the same cut settings. So when you scroll down to the product page, you'll find these application instructions, and it will give you the details on if you were using an iron at home, as well as what cut settings for your cutter. If you need them for the CriCut, those are also on our website as well. So just to double check, we have our blade at 2, our speed at 8, and our thickness we want at 5. So I will just increase mine. Mine's at 4 right now, so I'll just want to increase it up 1. There. So I have double checked my image is mirrored. And now we are going to lay out our glow in the dark sheet. So this is a longer sheet, so it makes it a little bit more difficult than just, a standard 12 by 15, but definitely you can manage it. So you'll want to use your grid lines and start at the top here. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to try to get close, especially if you have your design closer to the top. We want to make sure that we are not going to be wasting vinyl today. So then if you start here and kind of smooth it down, that'll reduce any air bubbles that could come up. And if you guys were wondering where Miss Sarah was today, she is actually in Texas. They are at the Pinners Conference. So a few other employees here from the office are here. You might be talking to her right now. Hopefully she doesn't have a viewing party for this live video we got going on. All right. So my vinyl is laid down on the mat because we mirrored the image, and because this is HTV, you'll want that carrier sheet to go face down. So I placed it here. Everything is good to go. We are ready to load to our Silhouette Cameo. So we have the lines here that we will want to use, and we will place it in here. So you'll just hold it with your hand, and then on your machine you'll click load. And my blade was just changed as of, I think, 2 days ago. So hopefully this will be smooth. Looks like I got a hair in there. Make sure we don't leave that. All right, and let us send it. So I'm not sure if you're looking at my screen right now, but the pop-up just came up and it says, and this is the Cameo 3. It does have Bluetooth. I chose to plug it in today. We were kind of making sure everything was good to go, but you can absolutely use Bluetooth for future projects there. And while we have that going, if you haven't already, I would recommend turning your heat press on. We'll make sure ours is not off. Looks like it did turn off. So this is our pink press. We do sell it online, and we also have the heat instructions for you there too. So to turn ours on, you'll click mode. It's highlighted at temperature, which we want at 302 for this project. We'll click mode again, 10 seconds. So that is good to go. It's gonna start at 200, so it'll take maybe about 5 minutes or so to heat up. This was already on, so I do feel the heat there, but you'll want to make sure, if you're in a rush, that you prep by turning your heat press on and then maybe go through the cut settings there. So in just a little bit of time, this should be all ready and good to go. You can use an iron for this project too. Whenever you use an iron, we want to tell you to use pressure, lots of pressure. Your arm will become very tired, but the combination of the pressure and the heat from that iron is what is going to adhere to this bag and this textile here. You'll want to make sure that it's not only going on the very top layer, but really seeking into those fibers as well. So you can use an iron, like I said, and those instructions will be on our website, on our product page, and it kind of has some great graphics by Alicia in-house here. So feel free to check them out. And we are still cutting. Let's take a peek at it. Looking good to go. So another tip I will be showing you today is how to center your design. So we have already sized it in Silhouette Studio, and it will feed out to our Cameo in just a second. But in order to make sure that is perfectly centered, I know it can be very, very tricky. The good old ruler is not going to get you there. So what you can do, first make sure that there's nothing in the bag. We don't want to start any fires. So we have a little bit in there, so we'll want to take it out. So what we will do when our heat press gets warmer and ready to go is we'll actually fold this in half. So that is going to be our mark of reference for that center point. So it will come out of your bag. It's just that light crease, as you can tell here. This is just from being folded up into a drawer. So you can see that crease, and that's what we want to create for that center line to kind of give us that right adjustment, and then we can measure from there. So we'll wait for that guy. And it looks like we are done. Yep, looks good. So we will just click unload to take that out of our Cameo. All right, and to save all vinyl, especially this glow in the dark, you'll want to cut off the design first. So I will take it off my mat. Lay that there. It can be a little bit tricky to see those cut lines, but especially in the light, if you kind of fold it under, I can see exactly where those left off. So you want to get close enough to the design, but not too close, because that carrier sheet is actually going to help us and lay it down correctly. So you don't want to get, again, too close to those lines, because then it will just make your life a little bit more difficult when pressing. So I'm going to leave about 1/2 inch to cut. And like I said earlier, it looks like we have about half the sheet left, so you could do this whole design again and just mass produce these blanks and sell them at your craft show, or you could do just a few small designs and add that touch to your candy bag. So I'm going to save this for later, so I'll put this aside. And then we have our design. Our carrier sheet is here. So a tip for myself, I guess, I kind of think that this is easiest for me, is to put it actually back on the mat. So I will lay that down there, because then the carrier sheet is actually being held down while I try to weed the perimeter. So we have our weeding tool here, and you can start from the corner and pull back. And this is a fairly large design, so if you are having a little bit more difficulty, you can always take your scissors and cut it. This way your whole sheet is not pulling back with you. You can kind of take it in sections. So I'm still working, and that new blade is doing great. Oh yeah. And if you didn't know this was glow in the dark, like I said, this looks identical to standard. So it's great that you've already had practice with our standard. This works the exact same way. It just, again, has that added bonus. So I'm just trimming the excess along, keep weeding. You can always have your kids join in at this time, and they can help you weed. I know Sarah here started at a young age, and I think she got paid, what was it, Chelsea? Like $1 a sheet or something. That is a pretty good deal if you ask me. So she has lots of practice weeding. And if you didn't hear her before, this is Chelsea behind the camera, and she is my sidekick today. So if you have any questions on Facebook, feel free to ask, and she can chime in at any time, and we can try to answer those for you, either through the live video now or after this video has ended. We'll make sure to check those messages. And hopefully you show us your creations at home, because we have, you know, purchased that black bag there, but there's so many different other bags that are out there and other designs that you can do. So we hope you share them with us. Still weeding. Our favorite part is definitely going to be these spider webs. There is some small weeding there, but I actually find this very relaxing. Definitely make sure that you get those cavities, which are inside the font, kind of those circles there. We have some lettering in the back that we'll want to make sure we take out. Also, I hope you share with us what your kid will be dressing up for Halloween. We need some ideas here in the office. I was just asking Chelsea earlier what we were going to be dressing up for. So give us a theme, give us any costumes you think we should wear at the office, and we will show you what we come up with. So I'm working on these spider webs right now, which are fairly small. If the cavities fall down, it's not a big issue. You can just use your weeder tool and pick them right up, which actually just happened to me. So just keep working. I pile them up in one hand. There. It does have a sticky carrier. So if it does fall, you'll want to make sure that you look for it immediately, because whatever is left on this carrier sheet, when you press it, it's going to be going on that bag too. So make sure, like there's one in here that I'll definitely want to make sure I get out. So easy enough. And for all of our heat transfer vinyl, we do have this carrier sheet already on, so it's not an additional step, which is really nice. You just have to make sure that you are putting it down on your mat correctly, mirror your image, and within minutes you have a really cool design. I am just dropping them all over the place today. Do we have any questions, Miss Chelsea?
Somebody wants to know if you get your hair stuck on the mat.
You can definitely get your hair stuck on the mat. I think you saw earlier that I had hair going into my cutter, so I definitely made sure to catch that. But absolutely. It's not too sticky, but it will have enough tack to grab your hair if you are leaning too far forward. Sorry guys, still working on these spider webs.
Do you want me to finish that while you talk on other stuff?
Yeah. So you can weed it without the mat too. Like I said, it was just easier for me. Look at all those, they're like snowflakes coming off.
I'll finish it and you can go over like the heat press in your...
Okay. So there's just one more spider web that we need to take care of, but we can go ahead and get started because looks like our heat press is ready to go. So it is at 304, our recommendation was 302, so it is just working its way up, so it's gonna go back down. Right now you see it at 303, it'll be at 302. So whenever you are heat pressing, you'll want to make sure that you kind of hit your garment really quick for about 4 seconds to make sure that you're taking any moisture out of that bag. So I will try to get this side crease out that was already there. So I'm just gonna press this. And we can lift it. If you are using an iron at home, we just recommend that you are not going on a surface that would take all that heat away from you. So you'll want to make sure that it's a hard surface so that you have enough to give that pressure, but you also want to make sure that the surface that you're not applying on is actually taking out the heat, because that can not make your design adhere as nicely. So no ironing boards, because that is going to fall right on you, because you should be giving it enough pressure. Thank you. And like I mentioned, we are going to find the center by folding it here. So you'll just want to make sure that it's edge to edge. And it doesn't have to be identical, because you do have to take into consideration any folds that you have in your bag, any seams. And as you can tell on the top where the straps are sewn together, you'll see that seam. So if you have that under your heat press or under your iron, you're not going to get that even pressure. So you'll want to make sure, if your design allows, that you can leave it off. So again, I'm just going to hit it for about 4 seconds or so, just enough to get that line crease for center. So it took a little bit more pressure there because now it is folded in half. And we are good. All right, so we have a perfect registration mark. Let me move this over here. So, can you see it in the video? Mm-hmm. So we have our center line here, and in order to find the center of our design, which looks like part of my shirt is now on the carrier sheet, or fuzzy. There we go. You can actually fold this design in half too. You really just want to make the creases on the carrier sheet, not the vinyl. And you also want to make sure that the tacky side, so the side that's sticking to my finger right here, you don't want to close it in on itself, because then your design will be ruined. So you'll want to make sure to fold it back this way. This isn't a square design, but just from the outside, I'm matching the spider webs up, so it's kind of creating that straight line there. Or the bat's wings are almost symmetrical, so you can kind of go off that. And I will just fold the top just a little bit just to give me that mark, and then fold the bottom as well. So I'm trying to just go in there in between the vinyl, making sure that I'm not creasing that vinyl. All right, so I do see my slight line there, so that will also not just help me find the center, but it will help me lay it out evenly too. So let's put this guy in there. So again, I have my seam off of my press surface. And then for the height or the border on the top and bottom, you can go and measure with a ruler. You can eyeball it. 2 inches would be about there. So again, I have my lines, and I'm just going to match them to my already created crease. And because of this high contrast between the black bag and the white design, right now I can already see that I forgot to weed out part of the spider web. So I think I left my... You can easily just take it right back off. It's so tiny. Thank you. But you'll want to make sure that you take that off, because it will be pressed onto your bag. So, got it off. We are ready to go now. So my lines are matched up. And because of that tack on the carrier sheet, you are able to press it down so it holds your spot in place. And I did this one a little bit taller, so I'm going to scoot it down just a little. And now if you're using a press, you'll want to make sure, like I'm bending this, and you can tell that the design is not fully on that surface. So I'm going to scoot it down, making sure that when I press, I'll get that even pressure. And I look good to go. So the carrier sheet is going to take place of that Teflon sheet, so you won't need that unless you are doing a double layer design and you have that exposed vinyl. So the carrier sheet here will do perfectly, and you'll just leave it on there and we are ready to press. So 10 seconds is what we recommend. So we will press it down and we will wait. We already put the timer down for 10 seconds, so it is going to give us that beep, and it's not going to automatically pull up. You will actually do it for you. So if you want a couple more seconds, you could always leave it. All right. So this is going to be a hot or cold peel. I usually wait until it rests just a little bit to pull it back. And we also just want to peek on the edges, make sure everything did go smoothly. Again, I tried to eyeball it to make sure that everything was on that surface, but you definitely want to make sure. You can always hit it again. So it is just coming off this carrier sheet beautifully. And we got our spider webs fixed. They look great. And just like that, you have the carrier sheet, so you can just throw this away. You won't need it anymore. And now we have our finished design. So it really didn't take that much time. If you wanted to mass produce these for your craft show, you could always maybe have one spider web there so you didn't have to do double the work. You could always change your design up a little bit, change your fonts, add your child's name, add your customer's name. Again, this is glow in the dark, so we'll show you that feature later. Not going to put you in a dark room right now, but we hope you enjoyed today's class, and if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Have a good day.